Hello and welcome to All Things Rift Episode 2. In today's episode, I'll be covering my Invincible Mage spec, account security, and a whole lot of news and reviews. And first up is the news. First off, patch 1.02 dropped yesterday, and the biggest issue regarding gameplay is that they've significantly reduced aggro range for mobs that are of a much lower level than you. This will, without a doubt, be a very welcome change for anyone with a character over level 20, since it was probably the most annoying aspect of the entire game. Now, they also introduced an in-game spam filter into the mailbox system, and introduced coin lock, and I'll be talking a little more about coin lock later. Now, out there on the interwebs, Rift's Wowhead has arrived. If you've played World of Warcraft for any length of time, you were likely positively impacted by Wowhead.com, whether you knew it or not. Congrats are definitely in order for Zam.com, who previously looked a lot like any other fan site, but with a nice soul builder. This week they dropped their item database, which places them front and center in terms of sites you need to be aware of for Rift. If you play Rift, it's time to add rift.zam.com to the top of your bookmarks. Also, out there on the internet, apps are starting to drop, both for iPhone and Android. Now, for my Android, I've downloaded the Rift Companion app, which provides both news and server status, and I suspect a lot more apps are going to be on the way soon. Elsewhere on the web, over at guardian.co.uk, there is an interview with game designer Will Cook, which reads like it's about 3 months too late. Now, amongst all of the really old info and lame line of questioning, there are a couple of interesting nuggets. First off, Will promises, quote, even larger forms of dynamic content in our next major content update, unquote. Now that's rather impressive, considering that zone invasions currently pretty much take over an entire map. I can only assume that when he says larger, he is also implying different, and I find that rather exciting. Now second, Will makes it very clear that Tryon is absolutely opposed to the freemium model. He states, quote, we are making AAA products that guarantee a consistent level of polish for every player, unquote. Now, as someone personally who is a huge supporter of the freemium model, particularly in Turbine's pay-for-content model, I found Will's statement a smack of the general arrogance you get from the subscription model defenders, who I kind of think are starting to feel like they're getting a little dinosaurish, a little outdated. Now, that said, I also appreciate that Tryon proves once again that they have a very clear vision of exactly what they're doing and exactly how their company will operate both now and in the future. And I think this kind of focus has translated into a fantastic game, and it's one of the few games, in my opinion, that still deserves to charge its subscribers $15 a month. So more power to Will and Tryon, even though I personally love the freemium idea. Now, the article of the week comes from Karen Bryan over at massively.joystick.com. She posts an interview with Tryon CCO Scott Hartzman, and it covers everything from add-ons to player retention to guild banks. To date, honestly, this is probably the best interview I've seen printed online. It definitely makes up for Massively's silence on Rift that they had going last week. I strongly suggest heading over to massively.joystick.com and taking a read, because it's definitely worth it. Now, in review news, Games Radar's Wyatt Bjorn writes the same review that everyone else has written. Yeah, Rift is a quality game. It doesn't introduce a lot of new stuff. Even though Wyatt gives it an 8, the review came off to me as a bit on the negative side. Over at GameSpy, Jeremiah Leif Johnson says that Rift is a quality game and it doesn't introduce a lot of new stuff. Now, he gives the game a 4 out of 5 stars and comes off considerably more positive than Wyatt. At GamePro, Julian Rignall posted her 21 Days in Terlara write-up, expanding on her first 10 days article from last week. Julian writes this really a lot more from a gamer's perspective. She writes about her experiences within the game rather than focusing on doing a critique. And she is very positive, and she makes it clear that Rift has become her game of choice. Now, I probably won't be covering any more reviews on Rift because I don't think I can handle reading another Good game without significant innovation article. Now, I still find it rather striking that reviewers are all comparing Rift to WoW, and they're stating that Rift borrows a lot from WoW and other games, but it doesn't have enough new stuff, and they seem to all be forgetting that 7 years ago they wrote the exact same thing about WoW, as I pointed out in episode 1. So until a reviewer comes along who stops borrowing from all the other reviews and comes up with something truly innovative, I don't think I'm going to be covering reviews anymore. Moving on to hacking. Right now, the forums over at riftgame.com are absolutely dominated by stories of hacking, and this issue has without question become a nightmare for Trion as they're trying to rein it in, but they're definitely on the back end of this. Now, it's easy for those of us who fancy ourselves security specialists and have never been hacked in any game ever to stand back and assume that this is all the fault of those being hacked. Now, I'm a little in that boat myself, and I still believe that at least 80% of those hacked probably have issues of their own that need to be addressed. But this problem is big enough that at this point my assumption is no one is safe from hackers in Rift. So the biggest question at the moment is, what is Trion doing about it? So far, the only thing implemented to really deter hackers, at least that we can see, is CoinLock, and that came out in yesterday's patch. It's a system that dictates that if your account is logged into from a significantly different location from the last time you logged in, your account will be financially locked within the game. You will not be able to sell anything to a vendor or at auction. You won't be able to trade anything, destroy anything, or send items or gold through mail. Now, you will be able to continue to play the game apart from these commerce-type features. You'll also be sent an email outside of the game that will have a code that allows you to unlock your account, and you can click on an icon in the game to enter the code and unlock the feature. Now, this sounds like a nifty idea, but I can tell you right now, it's not going to work. At best, it'll slow down the hackers because they'll have a couple of extra steps to take, but it's absolutely not going to stop anything. First off, thousands of Rift players are inevitably using the passwords 123456 or QWERTY or password as their Rift login. Now, all of these people are using the exact same password for their email, and their email address is what they use to log into their Rift account. So, the hacker simply has to log into their email and unlock the coin lock. Secondly, a lot of people are hacked because they have a keylogger on their system. In-game coin locking isn't going to do anything for these people since the hacker will have gotten their email password through the same method he got their game password. So kudos to Trion for coming up with a unique idea. At least you'll easily be able to tell if you've been hacked if suddenly you go on and you're coin locked, but it's just not going to work. So fortunately, Trion is working on other avenues as well. In his interview with massively.joystick.com, Scott Hartzman says that they are beginning to do IP blocking and auto-banning, as well as banning credit cards that they see are used for fraudulent purposes. They are also planning on introducing two-factor authentication via cell phone apps and text messages. Now that is really great news since two-factor authentication is really the best way to secure your account, but it's bad news because Scott also says they will not be doing a hardware authenticator, which is exactly what they should be doing. Look, my Android phone can get hacked too. So if I have Rift apps on my Android and it's linked to my email address when my phone gets hacked, I'm completely hosed. Scott, please, do the hardware authenticators. Not only will it guarantee my account safety, it will also give you an extra stream of revenue to boot. So the next question is, what can you do to protect your account? First off, you need a great password. Words are out, people. Don't use a word in your password. Your password should be something like H2OW34A F0. Second, your password should be unique. Now, I tend to use different passwords for everything I log into, but due to the huge problem Rift is having with hackers, if this isn't your habit, your Rift password specifically should be different from all other passwords you use. Third, if you post on the community forums, just get yourself a new account for that, and use a different email address, of course, than the one you already use to log into the game. If you're currently using the same email and password to log into the forums that you use to get into the game, your chances of being hacked go up significantly, especially if you log into the forums from work or any other computer outside your home. Just don't do it. Use a different ID for logging into the forums. Fourth, protect your computer with security software. This happens to be something I know a little about, so I'll recommend some. My highest recommended software, and I've used this for years and it has never failed me, is Nod32 from eset.com. Now, a very close second in my book is Kaspersky's Internet Security, which is actually the one I would recommend highest if you want to purchase one product from multiple computers in your home. Kaspersky is one of the highest rated products on the market from independent studies, and it has very competitive pricing when it comes to multiple machines. Finally, if you are more of a free type person and you're looking for a free option, you'll probably want to go with Microsoft Essentials. Yes, even though it's Microsoft, this really is a fantastic product and should be all you need to protect yourself against keyloggers. And that's it for news. Up next is my Invincible Mage spec. Now, nothing is truly invincible, as is proven by the chat here, in which you can see that I've recently soul healed. In my defense, I was ganked from behind by about 10 wandering planar creatures. Now, this spec is not designed for high DPS or anything like that. It's designed for survivability and soloing a mage. It is really as close to invincible as you can get among really any class. It's a pretty amazing spec for soloing. Now, I didn't have time to go over all of the details here, so you can check out my mage spec video if you're interested in more detail. And this spec is going up to level 33. Now, the souls for this build are Chloromancer, Elementalist, and Warlock. So the important aspects of this spec are Bloom. It's a talent, but also an ability, and it's the first and foremost healing spell that you can get in this spec. You can heal any team member or yourself or your pet. Okay, also important is healing Slipstream. That's a 2-point talent, and it reduces Bloom and later on the Team Healing Flourish abilities. It reduces the cast time to instant cast. Alright, also Life-Giving Veil. It's an ability which is a 1-hour buff that gives you and your pet self-healing as you do damage with your life spells. Synthesis. It's a 1-hour buff designed for tanks, but it's usable on your pet. It increases healing that your pet receives from your Life-Giving Veil by 150% for an hour, and that's a large part of why I call this the Invincible Mage spec. Nature's Touch is also a talent and an ability, and it is one of the more powerful single-target attacks of this spell, and as long as you have Life-Giving Veil and your pet has Synthesis, this attack heals the pet for 100% of the damage done. So this helps you to just be able to attack and attack and attack and attack all day long and not have to worry about anything. Now, over in the Warlock tree, we have Sacrifice Life Mana. This sacrifices 15% of your max health and adds 15% of your max mana, and it can be used in combat. So between this and Bloom, honestly, you can pretty much fight forever. Very nice ability to have in combination with this spec. Burning Ground, it's not only the most powerful spell in this spec, but it really is one of the most powerful spells for damage among all mage souls. So this is extraordinarily important and can be used in pretty much every fight. It's a very worthwhile spell. Now at level 33, you have to take Greater Elemental Affinity. I'm actually at zam.com here, and they have the description wrong, and this talent is the talent that allows you to cast Greater Elementals. Now your lesser elementals only go up to level 30, so by level 33 you find that they're rather worthless. So it's extremely important that you get this talent by level 33 at least. And that's it. That's the Invincible Mage spec, and if you want details on exactly how to build it, head on over to the other video that I'm posting today on Invincible Mage specs. Okay, and finally, I'm doing a little thing I call shameless self-promotion. Now, I promise I'm not going to be doing this very often, if at all ever again, but today, the moment this is posted, I'm heading over to the community forum at riftgame.com and just posting a thing called All Things Rift Videos. That'll be a thread in general discussion, All Things Rift Videos, where I'll be announcing that episode 2 is posted now. If you like these videos and if you want to listen to them and want to support them, please head over to the forums at riftgame.com. In the general discussion, find the thread, All Things Rift Videos, and just post a little note on there to show your support. I would really appreciate it, and hopefully we can kind of build a little bit of a community here by getting plenty of viewership. So that is it for episode 2. It's in the can. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.